One of the controversies that has been around the UFO phenomenon is what UFOs are. For some, they are experimental aircraft being tested by the government. For others, they are alien spaceships from outer space here on their mysterious missions. Another idea is that they are interdimensional operators moving across a bridge between realities from some parallel dimension. However, these are not all theories, and more attention is being paid to the fact that aliens may not be those described above, but rather people from the future. One idea that has been put forward regarding the origin of the UFOs and alien encounters is that they are not aliens from another planet or dimension at all, but rather us. The idea basically boils down to the fact that these creatures are people from the future. One of the main people behind this theory in recent years is Michael Masters, a professor of biological anthropology at Montana Tech who has been fascinated with UFOs ever since his father encountered them when he was a child. Throughout his career as an anthropologist, he sought real scientific research into the UFO phenomenon, culminating in his book Identified Flying Objects, a multidisciplinary scientific approach to the UFO phenomenon. One area that Masters found particularly exciting was the idea that aliens could actually be human beings from the distant future, and he uses his knowledge of human evolution to support this claim. In many reports of aliens, we have greys, perhaps the most common type of creatures. These creatures are usually described as thin, bipedal, and hairless, with large skulls, small mouths and jaws, tiny noses, and very large eyes. All very human-like, considering that if they were traveling from another planet, it seems unlikely that would be like us. Instead, Masters and others who subscribe to his theory believe that such an appearance is more in line with the trends and patterns of human evolution throughout our history on this planet. Indeed, looking at the expected path of human evolution into the future, it is predicted that we will develop hairlessness, larger heads, for more brain space, smaller mouth openings, and many other features of these so-called aliens. In fact, if you look at these predicted trends and quickly imagine a modern human to simulate these changes, at some point you will find a creature that is very similar to the greys that are observed in UFOs. It seems to make sense after all. It seems more likely that we evolved to look like them than that a completely alien species from another world evolved to look like us. At the same time we evolve into this form, our technology will also take a leap, possibly leading to the ability to travel through the time at some point. And with these fantastic machines and alien appearances, it will be quite natural for a human to come to the conclusion that he is seeing aliens, not time travelers. It all looks like something straight out of science fiction, but then again, so does the idea that aliens are visiting Earth from space, light years away, and a sea of stars. According to Master, the idea of time traveler is actually a more rational explanation for UFOs, a simpler possibility than suggesting the space civilizations exist and visit us. And he told space.com about this. If we continue to evolve as we have in the 6 to 7 million years since we first walked upright, our neurocranium, the top of the skull and brain, continues to grow in size and become more and more rounded. If the same dominant trend continues into the future, we are likely to look like very similar to what is commonly described in the UFO reports. The book links known aspects of our evolutionary history to what is still the unverified, unconfirmed fact of UFOs and aliens. We know that we are here. We know that people exist. We know that we have had a long evolutionary history on this planet, and we know that our technology will be more advanced in the future. I think the simplest explanation seems to be that it's us. I'm just trying to offer what is probably the simplest explanation. I think the simplest explanation in general is that we are, says Master. Well, what if we assume for a moment that the aliens are us from the future and the UFOs are their ship? Then why would they even come at this time? The answer to this question can be anything. Perhaps they are only here to study us or explore times in their history. Maybe they are here as tourists, just watching the past. Maybe in the future there are disputes in the data of history of the world and the authorities fly on UFOs to study history live. Master said of his own thoughts on the matter. The alleged abduction evidence is mostly scientific. It is probably the future anthropologists, historians, linguists who are returning to get information in a way that currently cannot be without access to this technology. Perhaps this is my bias as a paleoanthropologist, but I think they are studying their own past. There may also be a tourism component in which people pay to come back and relive monumental monuments in human history. Undoubtedly, in the future there are those who will pay big money to be able to return and see their favorite period in history. Some of the most popular tourist attractions are the pyramids of Giza and Machu Picchu in Peru, old and prehistoric places. Masters even went too far to suggest that the fact that they are time travelers and not space aliens may explain why they mostly keep to themselves and do not announce their presence. In the end, this could lead to a disruption of the timeline and complicate the situation. He explained in this way, if they have come all this way through space, why don't they introduce themselves after such a long journey? Over time, it makes more sense as the complication comes from meddling into the past. It doesn't change the past, but you become part of the past. There is nothing that forbids interaction, so it's not like we made contact with our future selves and exploded. It just complicates everything. There are definitely still missing pieces of the puzzle. There are aspects of time that we do not yet understand. The theory of quantum gravity is required, and we can combine general relativity and quantum mechanics. I am just trying to present a better model based on current scientific knowledge. Hopefully, over time, we can continue to build on it. It could also explain why we haven't made radio contact with these aliens in the gaping abyss of space. Because they are just us sliding through time. It's all a pretty wild theory, but in many ways no more bizarre than any other idea of that aliens and UFOs might exist. It certainly puts an interesting stamp on things to imagine that at least some of these beings might not be alien intelligences from space beyond the stars or through the veil between dimensions, but us. Is there something in it, or is it just clinging to straws? In the void of any concrete answers regarding the UFO phenomenon, there is at least a possibility worth pursuing, and in time we will probably know for sure.
It is the general belief that UFOs and aliens originate from distant star systems and galaxies, and that they travel to the Earth using superior technology. This theory is vastly accepted because we don't have such technology, and so we automatically believe that such objects must be driven by superior races from other planets. However, in my mind, this theory has fundamental flaws and inconsistencies which are outlined below. 1. Such flying objects have been seen in all shapes, sizes, and colors. It's as if the aliens can't make up their mind on which kind of vehicles to use. The traditional shape is the flat disc flying saucer. Other shapes include cigars, spheres, pyramids, triangles, and other shapes. They have been reported in many colors, such as silver, white, orange, red, black, and others. The question here is this: if these objects come from distant stars, then why are the aliens using so much versatility? Or are we being visited by several species of aliens, all of which use a different technology? If so, why do their ships all look different, while the beings inside all look the same? 2. If these aliens are from distant stars, then they must be very advanced. Why would such advanced beings visit the Earth for millennia and continue to study us? Surely their advanced technology would allow them to collect what they need in only a short time. Why do they keep coming? And what could possibly interest them so much to keep them here for thousands of years? 3. Why don't they make contact with us? It has been suggested that contact with aliens would be the downfall of religion and would provoke unprecedented disturbances in our societies. Contact with superior alien beings could only help mankind in every way. We would not need to turn our back on religion, nor would we run in panic. This is because such advanced beings would know exactly how to introduce themselves and how to assure us that we can only profit and learn from them. So why are they hiding from us and at the same time showing themselves just enough? These are the basic problems I have with the alien race theory, and as we evolve and develop, we'll find it more and more difficult believing that UFOs visit the Earth from distant stars. This is not to say that alien races do not exist. On the contrary, I indeed believe that the stars are full of advanced civilizations, and that one day we'll make contact with them. So what are UFOs? I believe UFOs are man-made time machines driven by human beings which have evolved into what we call aliens. They come from our distant future, and they use these vehicles to travel to their past. When we look at UFOs and the aliens who drive them, we're actually seeing how evolution is going to change mankind. And we're seeing what technology mankind will one day possess. Remember that in the future, mankind will have technology which is far superior to anything we can possibly imagine today. It's highly feasible that in the distant future we'll even learn to control time. In fact, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity suggests that time distorts if an object travels at great speeds, faster than the speed of light. Experiments have been conducted in this area, and they indicate that the relativity theory is correct. Once we have time travel under control, where will we go? I think the first thing we'll do is travel back through Earth's history. We'll have the technology to travel to any point in time. We might, for example, want to see who actually built the pyramids and what happened to Atlantis. But what will mankind look like in 500,000 years? Will we be exactly like we are now? Or will our bodies evolve to accommodate the drastic changes our high-tech future is bringing us? It's likely that we'll look exactly like reported aliens. Long skinny arms and legs, large brainy heads, and pigment-free skin. If you compare the look of our distant relatives who lived in caves to modern man, and then project this trend, then you'll recognize that we're going to get thinner, weaker, and smarter. We will indeed look like aliens in the distant future. This theory has major advantages over others. 1. UFOs are seen in all varieties because they all originate from a different point in future time. So each type originates from a specific technological point in time. The saucer-shaped UFOs might be from the 22nd century, the cigars from the 23rd century, the spheres from the 24th century, etc. We see various kinds of objects originating from various points in man's future. One could compare this to the advancing developments In the automobile industry, each technological revolution has created a different looking automobile because the design must accommodate the technology and advancing ergonomics. 2. The time travelers don't make contact because that would distort the time continuum and could cause time to split. The outcome of a major time split could be devastating and very difficult to clean up. So it might be best for all not to make contact, and that's probably why they don't. All this is based on one simple logic. If time travel will ever be possible, then the result will be someone actually doing it. This means that if they travel back in time, we will see them in our time if they do not hide from us. And that's exactly the point. They might have technology to travel back in time, but not to be invisible, or at least on the first attempts. And I believe they will have to travel in some sort of vehicle. So the end result is extremely advanced human beings appearing in some kind of vehicle. And to me, this completely explains UFOs and aliens. Other theories. This leads me to deja vu, a feeling many people experience from time to time, which is described as a feeling that I have already relived this moment. This could, in fact, be the result of a local time split. We don't actually relive a moment. Instead, it's two realities running parallel but slightly unsynchronized. For a moment, everything around you exists twice. The original reality and distorted reality, which is slightly different due to a time split. Many time splits may be caused by time travelers, contaminating and slightly changing events. And I believe they possess technology which prevents things from getting out of control, a sort of vacuum cleaner for time. However, time splits are unavoidable, and they might be responsible for many unsolved mysteries, such as deja vu and things disappearing, like in the Bermuda Triangle area. Many of the documented, unexplainable mysteries might be the result of time splits. Much has been written about the paradoxes of time travel, and I would like to give some of my views on the subject. Paradoxes exist because we don't yet have the capacity to really understand the concept of how time actually works. To be able to understand time, we need to look at the universe in a totally different light. I mean, in a completely different way. I believe the biggest error many of us are making is believing that time is linear, a start, a middle, and an end. I don't believe this is the case at all. I believe time, as we understand it, does not exist at all. All events that have ever happened and ever will all happen at the same time. It's our perception of time that makes us think otherwise. Imagine for a moment a piece of music on a CD. We listen to the music in a linear way from start to end, but the music is indeed stored on the media in a non-linear way, and all the digital information on the CD exists at the same time, and there is no beginning and no end. Our perception, the CD player, serves the music bit by bit. It is quite feasible that time conceptually works in exactly the same manner. I'm afraid that traveling through a traditional linear time model would be very difficult to achieve. The reason is that time presented in such a way is nothing more than the matter of the universe arranged in a certain way at a certain moment, and to travel through such time, one would have to rearrange the matter to reflect a specific point in time, whereas the non-linear approach does not involve matter at all. Additionally, the non-linear approach completely does away with questions like when did time start and how can it continue forever. Time simply exists all at the same time, but it may well be that the universe is also non-linear, and it's only our perception that gives us a feeling of space and depth. If the two systems, space and time, are both non-linear, then to me, that explains almost all of the mysteries of existence. Everything we experience, including time and space, is nothing more than a perception of something that in reality is quite simple. Are ancient aliens really futuristic human time travelers? The growing popularity of the History Channel series, Ancient Aliens, has led to some interesting speculations about what or who may have once visited our ancestors, imparting knowledge and technological advancement that lead to leaps and bounds in human development. Originally, the concept of ancient aliens or ancient astronauts pointed to extraterrestrial intervention occurring thousands of years ago, and possibly even a little genetic intervention as well. The ancient astronaut theory posits that our ancestors experienced these huge leaps forward in advancement of scientific, astronomical, technological, and medical knowledge that could simply not have happened on their own. We must have had some help from above, from entities far more intelligent and evolved than we are. Otherwise, how could we have built those amazing Egyptian pyramids and erected those massive stone statues on Easter Island, or the meticulously intricate blocks that make up Puma Punku in Bolivia? And what of the many glyphs, cave and rock paintings, carvings, drawings, and statuettes from our distant past that appear to portray helmeted figures that do not look quite human, or those of strange craft whizzing by in the sky? Are all these archeo-enigmas proof that our ancestors mingled with the star people and left us clues in their art, architecture, myths, and religious texts? While many argue that there is no proof we humans needed a little help from above to make those huge jumps forward in our evolution, there are many who insist that the archaeological evidence is clear. We were once hanging out with aliens, maybe even breeding with them, or having their DNA spliced into our own, possibly against our knowledge or will. The theory also posits that these aliens were from advanced civilizations, coming to visit lowly human earthlings and impart what they knew of the vast cosmos and all possibilities therein. Speculation includes locations both within and outside of our known universe, where the laws of physics might allow for travel between worlds. But what about travel between times? If we entertain the ancient astronaut theory, and there is compelling circumstantial evidence to give it serious thought, must we accept that the aliens that intervened were indeed aliens at all? Might they have been, dare we say, us? Humans of the future, coming back to teach, warn, and guide humans of the past. Lest you think that a ridiculously unfounded statement, let me bring up an interesting subject. Roswell, in the summer of 1947, A mysterious object crashed on a ranch in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico, creating a firestorm of ongoing controversy. Original news stories claimed it a flying saucer, but were immediately suppressed in favor of a weather balloon story, courtesy of the authorities. The classic cover-up. Roswell is now the stuff of legends, as well as movies, TV shows, books by the dozen, and continued debate and discussion as to exactly what happened on that fateful date in history. Were alien bodies discovered at the crash site, as many claim, and whisked away to a top-secret hangar at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? Was the craft later back-engineered at the notorious Area 51 in Nevada? Was there an alien autopsy done on the crash victims, as claimed by a TV show years ago? We still really don't know what happened at Roswell, but there is an ancient alien astronaut link that adds to the mystery. According to a renowned U.S. Navy commander named George W. Hoover, the aliens may have been human beings from the future, us, come back to, well, interact with us. Allegedly, Hoover had top secret clearance as part of his work as a naval intelligence officer to view the Roswell debris and bodies during the 1950s, and he eventually told a very select group of people before his death of his beliefs. Those people included his own son, George Hoover Jr., and later ufologist and researcher William J. Burns, both of whom were made privy to what the elder Hoover knew before his death. Hoover stated during interviews that he believed the aliens were not extraterrestrial, but were extratemporal, as in time travelers. In addition, he believed they were not really aliens at all, but humans of the future with incredible abilities to use the power of consciousness to morph reality and travel through the landscape of time. Hoover's story mirrors other stories from some ufologists and many UFO abductees that aliens may have been and still may be humans of the future who have found the technology to overcome the limitations of light speed and time travel paradoxes that keep present-day humans from breaching the boundaries of time. Their often humanoid appearance may suggest a link between the way we look today and what we might look like thousands of years from now. Ancient aliens may in fact be future humans. It's a mind-bending idea, but not an entirely impossible one. If you enjoy this video and want to see more like it, please consider subscribing to us and hitting the like button. Feel free to write a comment below and suggest which theory you want to see next. If you'd like to further support this channel, please consider joining. Our membership link will be found in the description box below. We appreciate your support, and as always, thanks for watching.